Hello, welcome to the Big Scuba Show.
Well, my name is Bobbie Scholley. I'm with Gemma and Ian on the Big Scuba podcast, and I'm going to be speaking about my Navy diving and my current diving with the Women Divers Hall of Fame.
So here we are once again.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Big Scuba podcast. My name is Ian. I am your dive master for this episode, and with me is...
Hello, this is Gemma, and welcome to the Big Scuba podcast.
Yes, we're back. And so firstly, yes, thank you for downloading this episode. And if you are wondering what this podcast is all about, well, you come to the right place if you're looking for something that involves diving and the watery world. And sometimes we're on the paddle boards, and then sometimes we're quite often diving, and we like to get other divers who like the water, and they're happy to come on and tell us all about their story and their journey into the water. Really,
yeah, we have quite a mixed bag of previous guests, so they range from astronauts, filmmakers, artists, scuba divers, saturation
we've been
divers.
doing this for nearly 4 years now, and there's about, as we said, there's about 160 episodes. This is episode 163, and coming up on this episode,
It's actually 162.
Is it?
Yes.
162. There we go. Confirmation there by our illustrious co-host. So coming up, we've got a guest for you, Bobbie Scholley. I hope I've pronounced the name right. Bobbie is a retired US Navy captain who has done a whole manner of stuff, which we'll lead to very shortly. But yet she's a very experienced diver, and one of the first women in the US Navy to captain a mobile and diving and salvage unit. So
Yes.
she really knows stuff, and been involved in some quite serious projects to look for certain things. But we'll come back to that in a minute. We've been to Stony. We've been diving.
We have, yeah, a week ago, wasn't it?
Yeah. And also we've been to the motorhome and caravan show this week.
Yeah, that's a bit different, isn't it?
It is. So and we'll talk about that in this week. And there's also been a stormy old week, isn't it? So I guess that's diving done for the North Norfolk coast.
Well, I did see somebody did post that if we have a window of like real calm weather, it's not unknown to dive in.
Not unusual to be
well,
bit Tom Jones there.
Singing in the shower. Anyway, so yes, if there's any clear weather windows, then there possibly will be some windows left, but definitely maybe unlikely. But South Coast, I guess they can, once it settles.
Yeah, I guess for our friends on the northeastern side, i.e. St Abs and Farnes, I'd say probably come to the end. I'd say.
But did you see
this week?
St Abs there was pictures of the harbour at St Abs on the news, and it was wild, really wild.
Yeah, well, it does get fairly wild up there, doesn't it?
Yeah, hopefully everybody's been safe in Storm Babette, and it's a lovely blue sky day today.
It is, and actually it's been quite rough down here. Actually, we don't usually get it too bad when there's a storm. What's the name of the storm?
Babette.
Yeah. Actually, I found something quite interesting. You mentioned St Abs, and I found this week quite an interesting organisation called the St Abs Marine Station, who are dedicated to marine science, conservation, and education. It looks like they do quite a lot.
I'll have to look them up and pay them a visit next time we're up there.
Yeah, on an area of the country that we know reasonably well now.
Yeah.
And they look at climate change, pollution, ocean acidification, and overfishing through marine science. So based at St Abs. So have a look, called look them up on marinestation.co.uk.
Yep, we'll tag them in the show notes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Probably a good time to also mention our lovely friends at NART. These episodes are always sponsored by NART at 90, our good friends in Wellingborough.
Yes.
If you're in the tech diving, marine diving, commercial diving world, then you may be interested to give them a call.
Yes, yeah. And if you've seen our recent social media post, if you tag them in, follow them, and then just drop us a DM, we've got a discount code for you to use on the NART website. So that's always worth having, especially as we near Christmas. And you might
absolutely. And they do
gifts.
these great things like sheer water covers to protect you. I really must get one of them myself, actually. They've got UK stock on sheer water dive computers, and they sell all this sort of stuff, especially if you're a twin setter, or you think about getting a twin set, or you think about getting a rebreather. So it's all pretty good. Actually, talking about rebreather, I should actually give Scott a mention as well, because I am going on a rebreather test dive, which I'm looking forward to at Stony. We are booked for the 5th of November. All being well, so looking forward to that. That's going to be on a AP machine. Never dived with a rebreather before, and I'm looking forward to it, because it's going to be a whole new experience. I'm going to be limited. I think we're limited to about 6 meters. So
well, that's makes sense if it's a tri dive, but it'll be interesting to see how you get on and compare it to normal blowing bubbles. Exactly.
So looking forward to that. So we'll be on the shelf. But actually, I say the 5th. Sorry, correction, 15th. I should be 15th. Up there. We're doing that. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. And we saw some rebreathers when we were at Stony last weekend, didn't we?
It's often people with rebreathers up there.
Yeah. So we had we spent the day Saturday at Stony Cove, had a lovely sunny day. Did our full face mask, 2 dives on the full face masks, and that all went really well. Visibility was okay-ish. They'd had a lot of rain, so I think it had affected the visibility.
It wasn't bad though. Come on, that must have been, I'd say, at least 3 to 4 meters.
Yeah, and there were so many fish. We saw tiny fish, pike, and carp, perch. Fish. Anyway,
do you know what? What do you do for a living?
No one needs to know.
What do you do for a living?
Sell seafood. But I'm not into freshwater fish. I'm into sea fish. But yes, it was just amazing. Some of the footage we got, and we saw the massive pike he cruised in at one point, didn't he?
That was awesome, actually.
Yeah.
So underneath the pub, if you don't know Stony particularly well, on the shelf there, underneath there's a pub, and underneath the pub there's like I don't know what you call it, like blockhouse, and there's like windows above it as well, and inside that there's Nessie. It's where Loch Ness Monster is actually, people think they're actually up in Scotland, but no,
it's a very friendly looking Nessie, isn't it?
Yeah. And absolutely full of fish at the minute, full of it. And we were laying towards the bottom, weren't we? Looking up, we had a torch pointing up with the cameras pointing up, and all we could see is these thousands of all these small perch, all of about sort of couple inches to 3 inches.
Yes.
And then deeper into the shoal, there's bigger perch, like that. And then you just see this pike just slowly, without hardly even moving a muscle, just slowly inching its way in. And it just looked amazing, didn't it?
Like, it was. Yeah, it was just like it just all unfolded, before our eyes. And the fish, they just were all around us, and they were in the cockpit as well, weren't they?
Yeah.
And then really, really good. So that was a good day's diving, and we saw some friends from Crystal Seas there. We saw John and Tony, and also their friend Kerry as well. So it was great to meet them. And we saw George and his girlfriend in their new, George's girlfriend was in her new Santee suit.
Yes, both of them look very smart.
Yep, matching red suits.
Yeah. Trying out their new dry suit.
Yeah, and we need to give a shout out to Alison at Nemo's, the little cafe and hatch.
Oh yes,
yes, we had some stonking sandwiches from there, and
we didn't. We're not really massive fans of having great big, I know some people do, and they go and they have
the bacon
sandwich.
sandwich.
What man doesn't like a good bat, but when you're diving. You prefer something a bit more lighter, and and they do for I don't know, £6-7.
Yeah,
and we should be on commission. And you get a box, don't you? Crisps, salad, and sandwiches. They're really nice.
Very nice. Yeah, so that will definitely be a regular on our visits to Stony now.
Yeah.
So well done, Alison, for sort of changing things around as well.
Yeah, we like that. And I'm up there again this week. I've got a sort of busy few weeks really going up there. So I'm up there again, hopefully this week with Scuba Honey, taking her up there for a dive. She ought to go see the fish.
Yes, that would be great for her.
I think we're going to do wetsuit because the water's still warm enough.
Well, we were in our semi-dries, weren't we?
We'll probably only do like half hour, 40 minutes, so something like that.
Yeah.
So, but she wants to go see the fish. So I said, right.
Yeah. And it'll be reasonably quiet as well. So ideal time to sort of jump in the water.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And then you're back doing dive master duty in a couple of weeks.
4th and 5th. Yeah. I was talking to Ian Mears this morning. Hello, Ian. And he's driving the bus. So the flag will be up, and we'll have some slap straps will be out, and some 90 voucher codes as well. So although I'll be DMing, I'll make sure they're out with the flag. And if you see the flag, come and grab one, and make yourself at home.
Yeah, definitely. So and thank you for the people that came to see us when we were at Stony as well.
Yeah. But we like to try and sort of make them valuable and give them out. So always good as well to leave your name, and we can give you a shout out as well. So
yes,
so that's good. We should also say well done to Trudy's been busy teaching.
Yes, yep. So she's been doing IDC staff instructor course.
Yeah,
and our fellow they're friends at Crystal Seas, John Osmond and Steve Lines. They're also full face mask divers, but they qualified as IDC.
Well done to them too.
Yeah, so it's great
awesome.
to see them furthering their professional qualifications. So
so that's really good news. So well done to them both. What else?
Well, Trudy, we just mentioned, we happened to bump into her not near the water last week. She just popped out of a motorhome suddenly, didn't she?
She did, yeah. So we went along on Wednesday to the motorhome and caravan show, which is at the NEC. I think this is as we're recording, today's the last day for that.
Yes, it's been running 6 days, Tuesday to Sunday. So it's based up in NEC at Birmingham in the UK.
Fully booked for the last, 6 days?
Yeah, Saturday was fully booked, Sunday was fully booked. So just amazing. And it was a big show in lots of space to cover. I think we walked nearly over 6 kilometres, didn't we?
Yeah. We did some networking. We made some new contacts. And,
yes.
So that's really good, spreading the scuba message into some different areas. And so we need to say hello to those people. And, say hello to Matt, Motorhome Matt as well. We spoke to online a couple of times, haven't we?
Yes, yeah. And Adam at Baylis, we met up with him, didn't we? Adam Harrod.
Yeah. Swift, Adria as well. The ladies at the Camping and Caravanning show, Camping and Caravanning Club. Yeah. Hello to them too. And also the guys at the Motorhome and Caravan Club as well.
Yes.
Clubs.
Yeah, so I was just amazed at how busy it was. And the amount of motorhomes that we saw and caravans is just incredible. So it just shows what an amazing industry it is. And yeah, hopefully we'll make some new contacts.
There's one I particularly I quite like. There's a few there which, you know, there's the new Endeavour, which is Bailey's new fully electric one.
Yes.
With in conjunction with Ford. So fully electric transit-based motorhome. That's all now kitted out with like recycled materials. And
we need to say
like
it is a concept car, so they're not in production, but it is like their concept. But yeah, very good ideas with all the recycled interior. So
they've done that with Bailey's. Swift had this awesome, and what was that called? The Extreme or something?
Yeah, they're more meaty looking motorhomes.
That was like a van-based, souped up thing, which was actually up for a competition, wasn't
Explorer, I think it was called.
Explorer, yeah, and that looked awesome. Imagine having your dive kit in that.
Yeah, and we saw motorhomes with like really big, what you call garages at the back, where you can store all your bikes or dive kit.
But dive kit, you know, some of the pull-out trays that they had could easily take 50k. So, you know, by the time you put a cylinder in or a couple of cylinders, you know, you can load that right up, that whole garage area, all your dive kit. Yeah, and then we saw like the smaller versions, like the VW transporters. You know, they were some really chunky, mean-looking machines as well. So electric bikes, all sorts. So just everything, to cover motorhome life and caravan life. Yeah. So. Looking forward. Really enjoyed it. Yeah, so thank you for the organisers, and we'll be looking forward to sort of talking more about that. Yeah, that was really good. So if you went, give us a shout out and let us know, and let us know what you thought. That'd be good. Hear your comments and thoughts on it. Okay, should we talk about our guest? Yes, so Bobbie Scholley. So she is also part of the Women Divers Hall of Fame. So we've spoken to various ladies from the Women Divers Hall of Fame, but she was inducted in the year 2000. Yeah. And she's also been on the board of directors of the Women Divers Hall of Fame, vice president from 2007 to 2009, president from 2010, 2011. She was we said, you know, she was the first US Navy captain of this US mobile and diving and salvage unit, the fourth woman in US Navy history to take command of a US naval ship, you know. And also her, obviously being a woman at that time in the US Navy, you know, it's amazing what she achieved, her training. She wasn't even a diver before she went into the Navy. She just saw them doing it and thought, I want to do that. And that's how she got in. But she obviously tells the story in the podcast. But very she's been involved in various operations, including the recovery of the TWA Flight 800 in 1996. USS COLE bombing recovery in Aden, Yemen in 2000 with the USS MONITOR, and it just goes on. You know, amazing lady, and she's got a great story to tell. And also just looking at some of the others, member of the ISSU College of Science and Arts Hall of Fame, and also does consulting work. Bobbie's the recipient of the Beneath the Sea Diver of the Year Award for service in 2012 as well. So and I first came across Bobbie on social media actually a while back when she was being consulted and asked questions on the tragic events of the Ocean Gate submarine as well, because you know that's what she knows all about as well. So that was quite interesting. So a very capable lady, and it was really good fun to talk to, wasn't it? So
That is episode 162.
Yeah, let's get her on.
Let's get her on. So this is episode 162 of the Big Scuba podcast.
That's awesome. And that's really good, that you've joined us today. And so thank you very much for giving us your time. So I suppose one of the first questions, Bobbie, is that we've got is how, you've done so much over the years, with being in the US Navy. You've done some really technical diving. You've been the fourth woman in US history to command a US ship, first woman to be in command of a diver and salvage unit, and the list goes on. And you've been president of the Women Divers Hall of Fame. You've been one of the directors. You're still involved. How does someone like yourself get involved in diving? What was that first thing that made you spark to say, hey, I want to see more of the underwater world?
Well, Ian, it happened a long, long time ago, and it really just happened by accident. I was, just going along, minding my own business. I went to college, and I graduated with a degree in biology, but I was in college in the exact middle of the United States, nowhere close to the ocean. And I was, graduating with this degree, and I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. And I didn't necessarily want to teach. I didn't want to go into industry. And so I accidentally talked to a Navy recruiter, and, he told me all these cool things. You can join the Navy, see the world. And I thought, well, that's interesting. Maybe I want to do that, for like maybe 4 years or something, and figure out what I want to do with my life. And so I did, much to the horror of my parents,
So they wanted you to be something like an accountant in a bank, something like that,
Yes.
not the US Navy.
Yeah, have you you've got no military background in your family?
Well, actually, my father had been a sailor in the Navy.
Wow.
Well before he ever got married and had children. He was a sailor back in the 1950s, which was a whole different Navy. Wow, yeah. That was not the Navy I joined was not your father's Navy, And so he was thinking, no daughter of mine was going to be in the Navy that I was in the 1950s. Of course, things had changed a lot by the time I joined the Navy in the early 1980s, 30 years later. But in the 1980s, there were not very many windows open to women yet. It was still very much an all-man's military. And I had a degree, so I fortunately went in as a naval officer. And it just worked out that I was in the right place at the right time. And when I talk to young women and young men about what they want to do with their lives, I often tell them to, set their goals, but I also tell them to be flexible, because you never know when opportunities are going to present themselves that you're just not aware of. And all throughout my career, opportunities have come to me that I didn't even think of at the time. So I joined the Navy as a naval officer, and I had no idea what would be available to me. And right at the beginning, an opportunity came to me, and that opportunity was there was a ship that was available for me to be assigned to as soon as I got my commission. And there weren't very many ships open to women in the 1980s. I mean, we weren't allowed to go aboard the destroyers and cruisers and that kind of stuff in the early 1980s. That was not legal at that time. But for my commissioning class, and there weren't too many women in my class, there was one ship available to women, and it was a submarine repair ship out of Charleston, South Carolina. And I would just happen to be graduating high enough in my class that I was able to select that ship, because I was thinking, gosh, if I'm going to be in the Navy, I want to be on a Navy ship. Why not? I'm just, I want to see the world. I want to do all this cool stuff. I want the adventure. well, I might as well do it on a ship, right?
Yeah, you got to be stuck behind a desk.
Right. If I'm going to do it, let's do it right.
Yeah.
So I was assigned to this submarine repair ship for 3 years. So I went from the middle of Illinois to get commissioned as a naval officer to Charleston, South Carolina, to a Navy ship when I
Wow.
was 23 years old.
Wow.
And had really
That's
never
pretty young,
been to
isn't
the
it, to
ocean.
be doing that?
It was, and the Navy put me in charge of a division of like 40 sailors at
Wow.
the age of 23. But that's the way the Navy works, you know. They
Yeah.
put young junior officers in charge of sailors as on board ships as division officers. You know, they send us to school and teach us, you know, how to be beginner leaders, you know, to
Yeah.
teach us the beginnings of being leaders. And so my first job was the electrical officer aboard this ship. You know, it wasn't easy, but you know, they were training us to become leaders.
Yeah.
And it was fascinating. So on this submarine repair ship, you know, our jobs or mission was to have submarines come alongside the ship, and then we would repair and resupply the submarines and send them back out to sea. That was our main mission. And so, of course, they had a unit of divers assigned to the ship because, you know, you have to repair the submarines below the water line,
Yeah.
right? Because most of the submarine is under the water.
Yeah.
It makes sense, you know. So they had a detachment of divers assigned, which I found obviously fascinating. Wow, that's kind of cool. And guess what? They had one young female sailor who was a diver with this detachment of divers.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh, wow, that's really fascinating. Women can be divers in the Navy. Who would have thought? And so, you know, I was really fascinated by that. And it just so happens that when you're on your first ship as a junior officer, you spend 18 months in one job, and then they assign you 18 months on a second job during your first 3 years on your ship. And the diving officer retired early, and they didn't have another diving officer assigned to come in and take that job over. And I was just really fascinated with the divers. And the master diver, who was the senior enlisted diver assigned to that, noticed my fascination. And he talked to me, and I talked to him about it. And he gave me some very, very good advice. And he said, you'll never know if you can do that unless you try.
Yeah.
And I kind of took that to heart. And, you know, I had to jump through a lot of hoops and convince my captain of the ship to take a chance with me. And but ultimately, I convinced my chain of command to send me to Navy Dive School, which was 16 weeks. And they sent me what we called temporary duty. And then I came back to the ship as the diving officer.
So so when you went ahead and spoke to your commanding officers, and they then they were going to take a gamble, had you done any diving at this stage?
No, I had never
know whether you was going to like it or not.
I had never snorkeled.
Wow.
I had never done anything but, you know, swam in a pool and in the
That's amazing.
river, in the Illinois River. So I didn't have a clue if I could do it and if I would like it at all.
What was dive school like? Did everybody there know that they wanted to be a diver because they'd got previous sort of experience?
No, it was a whole collection. And I have to tell you, you know, it's not easy getting into dive school. There's quite a rigorous qualification process, including a very rigorous physical fitness process that you have to pass before you get accepted into dive school. And of course, you have to be able to run a certain amount in a certain time period. You have to swim. And I was a pretty strong swimmer, so that wasn't a problem for me. You had to do setups, which, wasn't a problem. But then there were the dreaded pull-ups,
Oh,
which you had to do a certain amount of pull-ups in order to get into Navy dive school. Well, I I grew up in the 60s and the 70s, and girls did not do pull-ups in my generation. We did the bent arm hang, which probably nobody has ever heard of if you weren't my generation. So girls did not do pull-ups. I had to start from zero, and work my way up to 6, 7, 8 pull-ups in order to get into dive school. It was quite a challenge for me, but I was determined, that I was going to get into dive school, and then we had to do more pull-ups than that in order to graduate from dive school, and then every 6 months during my diving career, I had to pass my semi-annual physical fitness tests, which for divers included pull-ups. So I had to continue doing pull-ups my entire diving career because I was a Navy diver. And then I retired, and I have not done a pull-up since then.
I was just going to say, how many can you still do?
I don't know, because I have never done one.
If you want to demonstrate, it's fine.
You wake up and
No, I don't do any more pull-ups at all. I just don't feel the need to do any pull-ups now.
Yeah.
But it was the most challenging, both primarily physically, but also mentally, school that I've ever been to. But it was the most rewarding. When I finished dive school and got my dive pin, it was absolutely the most rewarding experience. I was just so, and I've done a lot of things before and afterwards that I've been so proud of. But getting that dive pin was really the proudest I've ever been.
Yeah. So were there many women within your dive school, or was it?
No. And there's still not very many women in Navy diving. Normally, there would maybe be 1 or 2. I don't remember where I fall in the pecking order of women who have graduated from dive school. The very first woman to graduate from Navy deep sea dive school was Donna Tobias, and she graduated in 1976. I graduated from Navy dive school in 1983. The first woman officer to graduate graduated in 1980. So just 3 years prior to me was the first naval officer, and there were 3 of them that graduated from the same class. Very good friends of mine, and all 3 of them are in the Women Divers Hall of Fame, as you might expect. And then in my class, probably maybe the first and only time, there were 2 of us in my class, myself and Karen Lynn, who's a very, very good friend of mine. And again, she's also in the Women Divers Hall of Fame. We are very good friends even to today. But very unusual for 2 of us to be in the class at this time. And it was wonderful, actually, because throughout my entire career, it has been unusual for me to have another woman, alongside of me in anything that I've ever done.
It must be amazing to have been in, part of that evolving time of the US. The US Navy is the biggest Navy in the world, isn't it? And it's a huge concern. And to be involved in that change as the US Navy was evolving in the post-war years, from, as you say, from the 50s onwards, how that was then changing, and women were being allowed to take command of ships. That it must be absolutely amazing to be part of that.
It truly was amazing to live through that period. A lot of changes, a lot of things that happened, again, that I was in the right place at the right time. I worked really hard. I did some things that, I just never in a million years thought I would be able to do. I saw some changes that I never thought would happen in my lifetime. I
Such
loved
as?
I never thought I would see women be able to command Navy combatant ships.
Yeah.
I didn't think I would ever be able to command a Navy ship, and I got to command a ship fairly at a fairly young age, as it turned out, because I was a Navy diver. I commanded a Navy diving and salvage ship,
Yeah.
And I part of the reason I moved into the diving and salvage area of the Navy was because I thought it was the only way I would get to command a Navy ship, which was a big goal
What
of
was the name
mine.
of your ship?
I commanded the USS Bolster. It was a salvage ship out of Long Beach, California. And at the time, women were only allowed aboard auxiliary ships. We were not allowed on board combatant ships yet. So I thought it would be my only shot at command.
Yeah.
Subsequently, women, probably because of tailhook, which I'm not sure you would be familiar with, but it was a big scandal that happened in the Navy where, it was kind of a big scandal with some at a convention of aviators where they treated the women there very badly, and it all blew up, and so it caused the Navy to really look at the way that they were treating women in the Navy, and it spread throughout the military, and it and it got into the politics, and it really made the political side of the country and the military look at what we should be doing with 50% of our population with regards to the military. And I think it caused us to reevaluate how we want our military to work. And it opened up doors much earlier than I ever thought it would. And,
yeah, it's really
we had to.
Yeah. So what was your day-to-day work on a dive boat? What were you involved in? What, physically, what were you underwater? A lot?
Well, not nearly as much as I would have liked to have been, because as a naval officer, our job was leadership and coordination and running the show and safety and training and keeping our sailors, the care and feeding of our sailors.
Yeah.
And so our job was not turning the wrench and, making and blowing bubbles. So that was the job of our sailors. I got to dive when I could, but not nearly as much as I wanted to. And that's okay, because I wanted to be a leader in the community, and I wanted to make things better for the divers and the rest of my sailors. And I don't regret any of that. I love being in the water, but I also love taking care of the people that, were doing the work.
Yeah. So where did you get to with your diving in regards to technical diving? Because how far did you get?
Well, I'm very proud to say that I have 19 dives on the USS Monitor, which is in 240 feet of water off the coast of Cape Hatteras. And those are mixed gas surface supplied dives. And the Navy uses nitrox. As opposed to the heliox that the recreational mixed gas divers use. So we use nitrogen, oxygen in our mixed gas diving. And so Monitor was an operation that, again, I was really in the right place at the right time, because I had command of Mobile Diving and Salvage Unit 2, which was the Navy command that was the leading command, which did the Monitor Expeditions in 2001, well, 2000, 2001, and 2002, which was working with NOAA, a government agency here in the U.S., the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration, which was in charge of the maritime, the Monitor National Maritime Sanctuary that oversaw the USS Monitor, which is a Civil War ironclad ship that sank in 1862. So the mission was to stabilize the Monitor because it was starting to really disintegrate, and then bring back some major artifacts, the steam engine and condenser, and then the gun turret and the two large cannons over the course of 3 summers.
It was the first battleship, wasn't it?
It was the first ironclad battleship during the Civil War.
Yeah.
And so, and because it was so deep, obviously, we used both mixed gas and saturation diving in order to do all the work.
So it was about for us, it's about 80 meters.
Yes.
Yeah, as we always go by meters.
Yeah, it's incredibly deep.
It was very deep, and took a lot of man hours because it was upside down, and it was buried a little bit in the sand and silt, and so we had to do a lot of prep work. And then eventually, and we had a big derrick crane out there, a 500-ton derrick crane that we had to use to lift the turret off the bottom once we got it all prepared. And we didn't want it to disintegrate on us, because it'd been in the water for 140 years. And, so archaeology, which is not the Navy's mission, but in that case, it was the mission.
Did you get any advice before you started doing it? When you started looking into the project, did you because it there's similarities with what you did there with when we lifted the Mary Rose.
Yes.
It's those similarities of being really delicate. So although the depths are not the same, the Solent is 40 meters, I think it was.
If that, yeah.
If that, yeah.
We we were working for the archaeologists. The NOAA archaeologists, basically, they were my boss, and they were there with us the whole way. Yes, during all the planning, the archaeologists were right there, and the engineers, and because we were using surface supplied mixed gas, we had the big helmets on with the cameras and communications to the surface. So the archaeologists were right there in our ear the whole time we were working on the wreckage. Yeah. I shouldn't call it wreckage, on the Monitor. Yeah. And so every step of the way, the archaeologists were basically walking us through what we're doing. And every dive was planned out meticulously prior to the divers going down to work. And we were working in, of course, 2-person teams, and sometimes 3-person, because then the saturation diver would come and work with the 2 mixed gas divers. It was an incredibly complex operation. We were there 45 days, roughly 45 days each summer, working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Wow. We were actually living on the barge for the entire time. And it was a huge operation. We had, about 120 divers. It would depend. We some days we had great visibilities, other days not so great. But with the rig that we were using, it wasn't too bad, and the cameras and that sort of stuff helped out a lot as well. And we had a helmet-mounted, great helmet-mounted lights on us, and we had an ROV down with us also that was providing additional lighting.
Amazing, and
it was,
the way technology has come, even in a decade, is just incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's. I was just at a convention last week that I spoke at, the Oceans 2023, that the Maritime Technology Society was running, and I walked through the convention hall, all these amazing technologies, the underwater autonomous submersibles, and all this sensor and sonar and, just technology that, I haven't seen in over 20 years. And I couldn't believe the progress we're making in technology these days. Just fabulous progress.
Yeah, and you must look back and think, wow, after from your dive school days to where we are now.
Yes, it's so wonderful to see that sort of technology and the way industry is really throwing smart people and smart, and good money into it.
But as technology enhances with these things, so we can live and work underwater, it brings more risks, doesn't it? Because we want to look after the oceans, but there's people out there who also want to use that technology to also do harm and take the resources from the planet and from the seabed and what have you. And I suppose it's difficult about how we find that balance. Did you with this Oceans 23, did you get that sort of come through that it's good to enhance stuff, but then how do you use that to safeguard the seabed? There's a big I was reading something just recently about how some of our wrecks, especially out in Asia, are no longer protected, and the metal is taken from the wrecks because they're pre-atomic properties. And this, as technology enhances, how do you protect those sort of things happening?
It is such a big question, and I think we really have to jump on this before we get too far advanced. It's kind of like the big question about AI. Our technology is just running rampant, and we have to get our hands around the ethics of where we go with technology before it gets away from us. The same thing with our oceans. The oceans are, our number one natural resource. I guess water is, but the ocean is, 97% of water on this earth. And this technology that we're starting to use to just explore more and more of our oceans, which is this huge resource for us, cannot be used to exploit this resource. It has to be used to help utilize and protect this resource. And we have some governing agencies, but these governing agencies are hit and miss, and they're not all under one, one overseeing government agency. And I should be more attuned to this, and I don't know whether it's the UN or whether it's somebody else, but we need to wrap our arms around this, where we have one overriding, governing agency that looks at how we take all of this and we use it for good and not for bad, as you're saying. But exploration is fabulous, and it's always been a way of pushing the envelope and helping us to move forward. But we have to do it in a way that's one, safe, and we have to do it in a way that is good for the planet. And yet we haven't been doing it in a smart way, in my opinion. And we as divers, as lovers of the ocean, have to be a big part of that equation. And a lot of us have NGOs or we have nonprofits, and we have so much to be thankful for what the ocean has given us. And I think a lot of nonprofits realize this. I was so pleased to see at Oceans 2023, talking to a lot of people that were involved in nonprofits who are just as passionate as, my nonprofit is about this, and just as passionate about bringing the next generation into this, because the next generation is so smart.
Exactly.
But we can't be complacent, because it's just going to get away from us if we don't jump on it.
Today's episode is sponsored by Narked at 90, so let's find out a bit more about them. Narked at 90, their tagline has been beyond technical, which describes them pretty well. John Routley and Brent Hudson launched the company over 20 years ago. They are both technical divers who have logged thousands of mixed gas dives between them over a 30-year period. Using their engineering know-how and diving expertise, have developed bespoke, personal, commercial and military diving equipment and products of a universally recognised, unparalleled calibre.
Their ability to be adaptive and versatile with their developments led them to support the NHS during COVID. Using their superior knowledge of breathing and oxygen monitoring systems to help develop emergency ventilators. They also design and supply the sneaky stuff used by defence-based development groups throughout the Western world, although they can't tell us much about that. If you're thinking of moving across to tech diving or completely new to diving, Narked at 90 can advise and guide on the best equipment and setup for your personal or commercial requirements. Narked at 90 have unparalleled experience of shearwater dive computers and are the longest serving and sole and UK European service centre for those. They are happy to offer technical support, servicing, repairs and upgrades to all shearwater computers, past and present. Narked at 90 stock shearwater computers, but are also stockers and technical support centre for many other manufacturers, including Divesoft, JJCCR, Hollis, Revo and Kiss rebreathers.
Based centrally in the UK, Narked at 90 also offer full rebreather head servicing for selected manufacturers.
Bespoke cable assemblies.
Advice on specific fitting requirements.
Suggestions and guidance for home builds.
Computer laser cutting and engraving.
Pressure testing to simulate 400-metre dives.
So, Narked at 90, a reputation built on supporting both manufacturers and divers worldwide.
Go to narkedat90.com and make sure you are following their social media to keep up to date with their latest news and offers.
Narked at 90, large enough to cope, small enough to care.
Years ago, we could argue that we were not aware, we're not educated, we don't understand climate change and things like that like we do now. And we could argue that, you know, as big organizations evolved, they could argue and say, well, hey, we didn't know the importance of the seabed and what lies in it, you know. But as technology evolves and, you know, the planet kind of gets smaller because there's big players left and only a few of them, well, you know, it's down to them big players to say, well, actually, some of that money probably should go into protecting it. And, you know, there's for the good of us all, really, I guess. I think that's probably the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah, and there are lots of like individual pockets of like these amazing like NGOs and individual groups, but yeah, they all need to be brought under a massive umbrella to get the strength there and but everybody doing their little bit is doing something, and that's the most important bit. So after you left the Navy, where did diving, or where did you go from there?
Well, actually, when I retired from the Navy in 2005, I came home to raise my twin 2-year-old daughters.
Wow.
So it was a huge change of environment for me to go from being the commanding officer, leading upward of 200 sailors who listened to every order I gave them, to coming home to trying to lead two-year-old toddlers who listened to nothing that I told them to do. So, you know, wow, what a change of pace for me. But, you know, it did change my perspective a little bit, because I did suddenly realize that, gosh, I have to protect this planet, because I have 2 little people that need this planet to be around when I'm gone. And I have to think about education, because again, I have 2 little people who, you know, need an education that is good for them and good for the future. And I'm not going to be out there like maybe other people that retire at my age and are off, diving in Fiji, with their husband, who also was a Navy diver. So hubby and I are not going on vacation to dive for 2 weeks in Fiji. We're staying at home with the toddlers and thinking about the future. So, I didn't really need to go to work for, some big company and make a bunch of money because, what is money? We had everything we needed, which was 2 little toddlers to take care of.
Exactly.
So nonprofits were, they gave me the flexibility to do what I wanted to do, which was to, give back. And so I jumped into PTA and all that kind of stuff, and the Women Divers Hall of Fame, because it was an outlet for my diving, my diving fix. Yeah. And it also was a nonprofit that had a real mission, which was to provide mentoring to young people who had a love of the ocean and the underwater environment. And also I could meet really amazing divers from all over the world, which I did. And it worked out really well for me. And I threw myself into that, and the mom role, obviously. My daughters are in college now and doing wonderful things. But, it really is a goal of mine that we need to bring this next generation forward, because they're really smart. They know what they want. And they are the way we're going to fix things. Although it's still incumbent upon my generation to not give them a bag of worms to have to fix.
Yeah.
So, as Ian said, we can no longer stick our head in the sand and say that climate change is not a thing.
Yeah,
it is a thing, and we have to stop doing what we've been doing, and start, being responsible.
Yeah, and I think we're all, intelligent enough now. Technology has gone on, and we know exactly, the causes and the results of any future action. So yeah, so it's good. So on a day-to-day basis, what is your involvement in the Women Divers Hall of Fame?
Well, I have, over the years, I've taken a strong leadership role in the Women Divers Hall of Fame. Actually, the year that I retired from the Navy, I got a call asking if I would be interested in being the vice president of the organization. Because after all, you're retired from the Navy, you don't have anything else to do. And I said, okay, what do I have to do? And so I stepped up to be to a leadership role as vice president, and then eventually, fleeted up to president, and then became a trustee, and then the board chairman. So that happened, so for like the first 10 years, I was in a leadership position, which meant because we don't have a brick and mortar building that we run this, since it's an international organization, we meet a couple times a year. We do a lot of fundraising. Our biggest program is our scholarship and training grant program, which we run annually. Our application period just opened up September 15th of this year, where we have our applications on our website, and our website is www.w for women DHOF.org, and you can go on our just hit the scholarship page, and it walks everybody through it. We have scholarships and training grants that cover everything. The scholarships in archaeology, conservation, underwater photography, training grants for basic scuba, for advanced scuba, for everything in between, medical tech, diving medical tech with our wonderful Chantel Newman. and who you've spoken to before. Education, diving education. We have hard hat, a training grant for hard hat diving. We have almost anything you could think of. Last year in 2023, we awarded 46 individuals scholarships or training grants that totaled over $68,000.
Amazing.
For those. And out of those 46 individuals, 25% of those individuals were from outside of the US. So, this is not
good.
something that is, strictly for divers in the United States. This is all over the world. People are applying from all over the world and getting these awards. So anybody that's looking for funding for either research scholarships or to learn how to dive or to improve their diving, go to our website and take a look. But do it quickly because the application period closes. I think it's the 30th of October, something like that.
Yeah.
But they open. We have these every year. So if you miss this year's window, look for next year. But it's because we want to continue to give back, because most of us who are members of the Women Divers Hall of Fame were helped at some point in our career, and we want to help those that are coming up behind us, and we want to grow these other smart people, women and men. Some of them are available to men, because we want other people to keep helping, and keep the underwater world safe, and also continue to help our oceans continue to thrive.
Yeah, and the people that are looking at Women Divers Hall of Fame can look at all the amazing people like you and see what you've achieved, and just where diving leads. It's just, you might just like do a try dive and then look at where you could be next.
Yes, part of our other mission, besides providing the scholarships and training grants, is we try to be mentors to other people. And, if somebody is looking in a specific area and they, just want to reach out and say, I have a question about this particular area of expertise. We have members that are all over the world, and they can always email our information email, and when we look at those and we try to match people up. We also mentor in other ways. This past summer, I'm a veteran, obviously, and we have a program where we mentor veterans. So this past summer, I went on a project with a group of 8 other veterans, United States military veterans.
Yeah.
And we worked with the U.S. National Park Services. And the program takes these, and they were all women veterans.
Yeah.
Imagine that. Sorry, Ian.
No, it's fine. I'm all for it. It's all good.
The women veterans get trained in scuba through another nonprofit called Waves. And so they get their scuba qualifications. And then once they're qualified in scuba, the Waves program and the National Park Services work together to set up this 1-week project where they then do a mission where they go to one of the underwater national parks, and they clean the debris off of one of the coral reefs.
Wow.
And then they use one of the WDHOF military divers, and this summer it was myself, as a mentor to go along as just, big sister, or an older sister in my case.
Must be very rewarding. Yeah.
And so I went diving with them for the week off the coast of the Florida Keys in Biscayne National Park, which is beautiful, obviously. And so for 5 days, we dove in, scuba. And we dove every day off of a boat off the coast of the Keys in Biscayne National Park on the park reefs, picking up junk off of the coral reefs, like fishing pots and fishing line and rope and, aluminum cans and just all sorts of debris, and the weights that they put in these lobster pots, to weight them down, and anything that was killing the reefs or was battering the reefs when the storms come in. And over the course of the week, we removed 5,000 pounds of junk off of these reefs. 9 women, 9 older women, 9 little old women.
Age? What's age? Age is
nothing.
Just a number.
When you're in the water, it's nothing. And so we removed 5,000 pounds of debris off of the coral reef, and we bonded. A bunch of women veterans bonded, and we told sea stories, and we,
sing some shanty songs.
Yeah, we did, and we swore a lot.
No,
when you're out at sea telling war stories, you swear a lot, which I don't do anymore. And it was such a great time, and we felt so good about what we did. We didn't touch a fraction of what was down there on these beautiful reefs.
Yeah, but then they
brought some back.
Yeah, but all those women that you were diving with, they can then tell that story, and it's just spreading then, isn't it? Yeah, that message gets out there. Yeah,
it's amazing, because you think, when you look back of your history, and you've been involved, we've already talked about the Monitor. You've been involved with the TWA Flight 800 recovery. What's the other one? US COLE. The list go on, and you can then share your experience to people like these veterans to do good for the reefs and things like that, and it is brilliant. All for it. It just all sounds really, really good, and it's really good for people's mental health as well. Brilliant.
We all know that diving is good for your soul.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So what's have you got any plans for the future for Women Divers Hall of Fame? Any more projects going on?
We all meet for one of our semi-annual gatherings in November during the DEMA conference, which is you're familiar with DEMA. Will you guys be there?
Not this year, but we will one year. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's in New Orleans this year, which should be quite fun. So we'll all meet in New Orleans in November this year and have our semi-annual meeting.
Do you know Tech Clark? Do you know Tech?
I know who he is. I don't know that I've ever met him, but I am LinkedIn friends with him. So
cool. Yeah.
I don't think I've ever met
last
him.
Year. We said we will get over there one year.
Yeah, we will. Yeah.
Wonderful.
It's just amazing, all the diving community, and it makes the world much smaller than it is with all these people that connect through diving.
Yeah.
It absolutely does. It is a small world, and it just shrinks every time you turn around.
Yeah, but then there's some amazing characters in the diving world.
Which you wouldn't want it any other way.
No, exactly. That's what makes it so vibrant as well.
Yes.
But I've got another question. Before we get on to our set questions, I saw you pop up on, you was asked about your thoughts, really, when the tragedy happened with the Ocean Gate submarine early in the year. I saw you'd been asked about that. Why did they come to you about that, to ask you your opinion on that submarine?
I'm on the roll. I'm on the list for most of the cable news networks because of my background with deep ocean salvage. probably from TWA and so forth. And I'm one of the few retired Navy salvage officers, probably here on the East Coast. I did a lot of the interviews during the Malaysian 370 aircraft tragedy, and a couple others. And so they have my number.
Of course, they never found it.
No, they didn't. And you know, that's one of the biggest problems with deep ocean salvage is the search phase, which was a problem we had when I was in the Navy also. Is you can't salvage until you have located the object that you're looking for.
Yeah.
Which is why this new technology, these autonomous underwater vehicles and sonar and that sort of stuff, the new technology just keeps getting better and better, which makes your chances of finding the object that has been lost.
Do you think they ever will get to the bottom of whatever happened?
Only if somebody is willing to pay the large amount of money that it'll take to deploy the search assets again. And, you know, technology is getting better and better. And so the technology is there, even though it's a deep ocean. And, you know, the longer it stays out there, the harder it'll be. But it just depends on how badly somebody wants and how much money they want to pay for it.
Yeah. It's another thing that people, they just think, oh, it's something that's dropped in the ocean, but it's the vastness and the depth. You know, that is really, to some, you know, it's incomprehensible how, what we're talking about, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes. And the variables, the more variables you have, like the deeper it is, the harder it is. And the fact that they didn't have a good starting datum, like with the Titan, they knew exactly where to start from, which made it, I don't want to say easy, but a much easier search problem to begin with, because they knew exactly the starting point, even though it was very deep. But with MH370, they had no idea where the starting point was.
No.
They kind of did, but it was a huge area that the starting point could have been from. And that made it so much harder. And then you add in the depth and then all the other variables.
And there were so many outstanding question marks as well, wasn't there, about whether it did a U-turn, whether it went on or what. And obviously there's other people out there spreading conspiracy theories and things like that, which all help to blur, you know, actually what the facts are, which is never good.
So, it's terrible.
We've just got to rely on technology for the future to advance and keep advancing to make these things easier.
Yes.
So you're a very confident person, and you know, you've been in charge of many people over the years. What sort of thing gets you out of your comfort zone?
Gosh. You know,
I've got a theory. And I wondered whether I'll be right on this or not, whether when you went from being in command of a couple hundred people, actually, here's a question before we get to that. What was the hardest thing? Telling your children what to do, or telling 200 men what to do?
You know, it was really hard. I was scared to death of messing up my kids, you know. I really didn't want to. I mean, all parents are, but you wouldn't believe the number of
mistakes
parenting books that I bought.
No,
you know?
No.
I had, because, you know, my husband and I, we waited much later in life, obviously, to start our parenting experiment. So, I was really worried about messing that whole thing up at my advanced age. So I really worried a lot about
I'm sure you've done a great job.
Our daughters are fabulous. They're in nursing school right now, and they're doing fabulous, and they're just the best girls. So we're so proud of them.
Are they divers?
We got really lucky. They just got their scuba. While I was in Florida doing the National Park Services, the girls went with me, and they got scuba certified
Oh, that's
on
awesome.
Key Largo,
Wow.
because Key Largo, who doesn't want to get scuba qualified in the Florida Keys? They loved it. So we should have done it earlier, but
Well, at least they've done it now.
Yes.
Age isn't a barrier to do anything. So
no, they've really loved it. Thank goodness, because we were a little worried. But they've been asking for years, so they really do love it.
oh, that must make you proud as well.
It does, yeah.
So what about the comfort zone then?
I really do get nervous every time I have to get up and speak in public. This conference that I spoke at, it was actually the gala that I spoke at last week. I was one of two people to speak at the Fireside Chat, and the other speaker was an Apollo astronaut.
Oh wow!
Oh.
I know, a national hero. So,
who's that?
Mr. Fred Haas, Apollo 13 astronaut. Fred Hayes. Fabulous speaker, and he was such a gentleman, and I was kind of freaking out, the whole time getting ready, and my husband, was, don't worry about it, it'll be fine, and I was really worried. It turned out fine. It was really a lot of fun, and he was such a nice man, but an Apollo 13 astronaut. Come on, give me a break. It was so much fun, and I'm really glad I did it. But the whole time I'm like, what? How could you ask me to speak with this Apollo 13 astronaut? I mean, that's like, what am I doing up here with this guy?
But you've both been to extreme places.
That was the whole theme, extreme highs, extreme lows.
Yeah.
So,
well, think who it'll be next time. Your next speaking event.
Yeah, I don't know. So public speaking does still kind of get me.
Yeah, so another question we ask all our guests is, if you could take 3 people diving, they can be past, present, who would you take under the water and why?
Oh my gosh, would I take 3 people? Golly. I would love to take Barack Obama, because one, I just think he's such a great guy.
Yeah.
And I think he would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And and I think I wouldn't worry about him, because I think he would be, fine. I don't know if he dives or not. He probably does already. But and I think he would, I think if he doesn't already dive, I think he would really get a lot out of it.
Yeah.
I think he would, appreciate it. I think he would really appreciate the experience. He probably already dives, but
yeah, I could see that he dives. I would have thought he dives.
Yeah, he's from Hawaii. He probably does.
Yeah.
But plus, I just, I would love to interact with him.
Yeah.
I don't think we've had that one before.
No.
Oh, that's a new one.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of a hard political time right around here right now. So politics is kind of a hot thing, kind of a big thing right now. And then let's see. Oh, I should have been prepared for this. 2, I would take, I would love to go diving with Zale Perry. I don't know if you know her. She's a member of the Women Divers Hall of Fame. She's one of our legends. She is a lovely lady. She's, she's in her late 80s or 90s. And she is just a sweetheart. Yeah, I mean, she's already a diver, obviously, but I'd love to go diving with her, because she's just, she's like, touches my soul. And and last, but I would like to take, some young girl, that just has never even, some young girl like from the inner city of Washington, D.C., because we're close here to Washington, D.C., that has just never in her life ever thought about doing something like that. Who's not afraid of the water.
Yeah.
And, that would just never have,
That's probably the best choice, isn't it? Because you're showing somebody who probably would never have that chance.
Yeah.
So that's brilliant. Well, I'm going to put you on the spot for one final time, and we're going to give you a billboard, okay? And on that billboard, the whole world can see it, and you can put whatever you like on it. It can be a message, it can be an image, it can be a video, it can be a picture, but it's going to be your thing. What are you going to put on it?
I'm going to put a video on it of girls from all over the world experiencing just pure joy of the oceans, whether it's, little montages of them at the beach interacting with sea life, snorkeling, diving, together, diverse girls, just loving the oceans and the sea life. And then at the very end, I want them to see a scene of, that big sheet of pollution that comes across the ocean, and the devastation that we're doing.
Yeah. And it's how to make that change.
Yeah.
No, very good. Very strong good message. That's very good. So there different answers to what we've had before as well, which we always like from our guests. Always something very individual, which is great, with a great power behind them. So thank you for that. So if people want to find more about you and the Women Divers Hall of Fame, where are they best to get that information from?
Yes, please go to our website, the Women Divers Hall of Fame website at www.WDHOF.org. The thing, I have to walk through the letters, and my profile's on there too, but really it's just the whole website. That's my current job there. Is I'm the web coordinator. I do the website.
Great. So, and if anybody's got any questions, they can just email and
yes.
That's great.
Email us there.
Big collection of some really great women who have done some great things. So it's awesome. So if you listen to this, get along there and have a look. It's brilliant. It's been fascinating talking to you. It's been absolutely brilliant. And we hope that you've enjoyed it as well. So thank you very much for coming on. That's been brilliant.
It has.
Wonderful. I've had a really great time, and I hope to see you guys at one of the DEMAs soon.
I'm sure we will. We'll get there. Yes, not this year, but maybe next year, definitely. So
I appreciate you guys having me on. It was a lot of fun.
No, thank you, and we hope you have the rest of a nice weekend. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Bobbie. That's great. See you soon.
Take care.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Well, we want to say thank you to Bobbie for coming on, Bobbie Scholley. And don't forget to look at the Women Divers Hall of Fame, WDHOF.com. So
links are in the show notes.
Yes, don't listen to me. Go there and have a listen. How cool was that? That was absolutely brilliant.
Very good. No, she's got a very strong, powerful lady doing all that she's done in such.
Sorry, let you into a bit of confession. No one's listening, are they? So that's just me and you. So
What?
I was a bit nervous because she's been in charge of many men and captains, and I thought, wow, she's
going to give you orders.
Tough. Yeah, going to get me orders, and stand to, and what have you. But she was awesome and down to earth and friendly, and just really good conversation, I thought.
Yeah, and you can see what a great leader she would have been.
Yes, and I thought as well, I might be wrong, but I thought when she was talking about, the environment and some of the other things, and even like Barack Obama, I thought you could see like she was moved about talking about people and things that she believed in.
Yes, yeah, and she's on, it's a powerful place or organisation she's a part of, the Women Divers Hall of Fame, with so many amazing women that have.
See, this is the bit what I was I don't know, sometimes I can't quite word what I'm thinking, because I kind of think, with people like Bobbie, not just Bobbie, but people who've had her experience, got those connections, got that influence, right? That it's going to be down to people like Bobbie, who's got that connections and understanding, because we haven't, I'm just a gardener and whatever, I haven't done
everybody's got their different
but
levels.
my point is, right, as organizations get bigger and more, and big business get involved in things like that, they will be speaking to people like the Bobbies of this world for consultation and understanding and hopefully, if these big businesses and organizations have got a conscience as they evolve and get bigger, that they'll take the stuff on board, the advice on board, because we've only got one choice, one chance, haven't we? And the point is, if we can't ignore it.
No. And it's until things get really grim and bad that people start taking notice, isn't it? And that's the unfortunate world that we live in. But with people like the Women Divers Hall of Fame, they've got the voice.
Yes.
That they can, not just the people of Women Divers Hall of Fame, but their influence to empower people to come and look at scholarships and get into the underwater world, the marine biology, that they're the people that are going to, take things forward.
They are going to influence the decision makers, and that's what it's all about.
And I thought
influencing the decision makers.
Yeah.
Who did we have on? Sam Howler. Remember a while ago we spoke to Sam, and Sam was getting these, and that was to do with COP26, was it? If I remember right. And Sam was getting all these facts together with her research, and that would go and educate, I say with inverted commas, the decision makers. And it's going to be down to the people in the Women Divers Hall of Fame and NOAA and national parks and people in this country as well, and
all the NGOs,
all to help tell these people that when they then are in charge of navies and in power and all that they will think, hey, on a minute, we've got to also bear in mind what's actually going on as well at the moment. It's all right with technology, but that's got to be responsible as well.
Yeah, it's pretty basic. There are people with
AI is,
there are people with voices, but you need people to listen. And that is when things will work.
Yes, exactly that. Yeah,
simple.
Exactly. Yes, symbols. So, but brilliant. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, very good. So hopefully, if you're listening, look up Women Divers Hall of Fame. It's a very easy website to look at, and you can look at all the amazing women there. It's like a hall. It is literally Hall of Fame, isn't it? You can just scroll through, read about them, if you're looking for scholarships, funding, it's a good place to go. So if you've only got a little bit of a window left, but for next year, start planning. And
it's a big collection of some women who have done some amazing things. You only got, put a pin in one of the names and look at it and think, wow, as somebody who's done something amazing, and we spoke to quite a few of them now.
We have, yeah. So we'll have to do a little Hall of Fame social media post of all the people that we've spoken to.
A mini big Scuba Hall of Fame.
Yes, yeah. So I think we've got quite a few episodes where we've spoken to some members.
Names come to mind. This is certainly not all of them. Obviously Christina Sonato, Chantal
Newman,
Newman.
Bergette Wilms,
Yeah.
Julianne Zeifel.
Yeah. Who else have we had?
Jill Hyneth, Becky Kagan Scott.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there is a big number.
There is, and there's more on there as well, because we've done 160 episodes. Can I just say that?
Yes. Well, no, when this comes out, it'll be 161.
I know. What about that?
Yeah. So, do have a look back at our previous episodes. There is lots of variety: men, women, astronauts, filmmakers, underwater photographers,
Mine clearance crew who get the pants out.
Yeah. So
we didn't ask for that, and I was, that's actually for your benefit, not mine. Yeah.
Pair of budgies, yeah. Anyway,
so we should get them back on again, actually, because that'd be good to catch up with them. In fact, didn't we talk about going down there to go?
We
see
did, having a dive or doing.
We did. So,
so we've got
it's a different world now, isn't it? So they're probably busy. So
yes.
But anyway, if they are listening, hello, and it's all we do. Look back on happy times. If you haven't listened to that one, go back. It is one of our first years.
Probably we
spoke to them.
Yeah, but we'll have to get some links to the episodes out. But if you've got any suggestions for guests for the future, we're always open. So you just send us an email, direct message on social media.
We are kind of chocker for the rest of this year, but we can try and squeeze them in, can't we?
Yes, yeah, so I think that's we've covered everything. Just want to say thank you to Narked at 90 for sponsoring this podcast.
Yeah.
It's coming up to that time of year where everybody's thinking about Christmas gifts. So have a look at Narked at 90's website, which is
www.90. Tell us who is this Narked at 90? What is it they do?
If you haven't heard of Narked at 90, they are.
Where have you been?
Yeah, they're specialists. They do a lot with the technical diving world. Rebreathers, they service dive computers, they hold lots of stock of anything to do with diving.
Now, we should mention this because they do hold lots of shear waters in stock in the UK. Now, they're the only ones. So if you are looking on the internet and think, well, hold on a minute, I can get that elsewhere, I can buy it online. Yeah, you might have to, but then they'll have to have that delivered in. And then there'll be a waiting time. But hey, you might be diving in a couple of days' time. You want to get hold of a dive computer. Maybe you're new to diving. You're thinking, I want a Peregrine. Gemma dives with a Peregrine, loves it. And it's great. It ticks all the boxes. It looks great, does everything you need. Go to Narked at 90, go on their website, or even better, phone them up. Phone them up. They've got them in stock and you can have one the next day.
And we're not just talking about UK people, because Narked at 90 are based in the UK. If you're worldwide, you can still contact Narked at 90. They are amazing people and they can make everything happen. So if you've got any questions, you're a bit stumped, give them a call.
Also, if you are a home build rebreather, there's a place where you can go get them serviced as well. I just want to say that before I forget. I had a strong coffee earlier, so it's probably why.
Yeah, so Narked at 90, www.narkedat90.com. So look at their website, or even better, give them a call, because there's always somebody really friendly to pick up the phone. And
they got sweets.
Yeah, if you order anything, your package will arrive and you'll have some sweets inside.
Yes, yes. They've got lamps, and also they've got canister as well for looking after stuff as well, which we mentioned in the last episode, which you would have heard if you listened to the last episode.
Yeah, so have a look at social media. You can see us. We post about Narked at 90 on quite a regular basis. But I think that's Narked at 90. So we just want to say thank you.
Yeah, and don't forget to share this with your buddy. If they are wondering and looking around for podcasts to listen to, tell them about this one, and don't forget to leave us a 5-star review because it helps them find us.
Yes. So, and then we'll be back after this episode. We've got we're talking to somebody else on Monday, aren't we? And Friday.
Who are we talking to Monday?
Chris Lemons.
Oh yes, Last Breath. Come on, who's seen the film? If you haven't seen the film yet, get. I think it's on Netflix. If you have a look at the film Last Breath. In fact, I might look at it over the weekend and rejig, because I always think about how he went. I've got to get this right. He went right and not left.
Okay.
And I need to write. Have you not seen it?
No, I have watched it, I think.
Sounds like you need to watch it.
I might need to.
I have many questions that I'm going to be asking.
Yes. So, but anyway, this is So look out for that episode. It's coming up.
Yeah, look forward to that. Right. I think that'll do for now. We'll say thanks for listening. Thanks for downloading. As Gemma said, there's a whole load of other episodes out there. So go back and, have a listen. If you're on the run machine, you want something to have a listen to at the weekend, go back and have a listen. So there we go. I'm done. And I think this is it.
You go lie down in a dark room.
I'm going to go down and lie down in a dark room. Wear off this.
Yeah, but anyway,
had that coffee before we come on.
Thank you for downloading, and thank you for listening to the Big Scuba podcast.
Yeah, and so
it's still going on.
For me, that was it in Bungie, centre of the universe.
We'll look forward to hearing you on the next one.
And right now, that was
the Big Scuba podcast.
Now that does wrap up today's episode of the Big Scuba podcast. But if you want to hear more from the podcast, make sure you hit that subscribe or follow button depending on what platform you are listening on. That way you will never miss an episode from us. But if you are listening on Apple Podcasts and did enjoy what you heard today, we would really appreciate it if you head to the show page to leave a 5-star rating and review. It really does help us. If you do, please take a screenshot of that review and send it to us on Instagram, and we'll give you a shout out to say a big thank you. If you have any questions for us or anything that has been mentioned in today's episode, be sure to reach out to us on any of our social media platforms or send us an email. The links are in the show notes. We will get back to you no matter what. If you have made it to this point in the episode, we both want to say a big thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next episode.